Hey, how's it going? In today's video, I'm going to be running through how you can connect SourceWhale to a cold email workflow inside of Make.com. And the whole purpose of this is to basically be able to check if a lead that you're about to reach out to already exists inside of your CRM or not. So, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Jake Backock. I run an AI deal generation agency, and we build AI-powered lead generation systems for recruiting and staffing agencies to help them grow pipeline and ultimately close more deals without having to increase headcount for their team. So, to give a little bit of background, the reason why this step is important. So, for the workflow here that we're going to be looking at, this is for a client that I'm working with where basically they've got a sales team that's already working on a large list of leads in their database. So when they launch this cold email system, what they want to be able to basically verify is that the new leads that come in and are reached out to through this AI cold email system don't already exist in their CRM, and they don't already have sales reps who are actioning these leads. Because of course, if you're going to have leads that are going to get messaged by multiple reps at once, or maybe you're going to start reaching out to leads that might already be a current client of yours, it's just simply not going to look good. So the reality is that the priority here is going to be to just check and see if each lead that we have entered to the cold email system either exists in your candidate database already or not. If it doesn't exist, we'll go ahead and filter it or send it through the rest of the automation to have the lead enriched and enter into the email campaign. If it happens to already exist inside of the CRM, we're simply going to go ahead and filter it out. So super simple. Anyways, to go ahead and get started, basically what you're going to want to do is you'll first need an API key, but we'll go over and look at make.com. So this is the workflow that we have set up here. It's just a simple kind of cold email workflow that adds leads into a smart lead campaign. And so when you look here, there's a few different parameters that we're going to need here. So we're actually not going to use an authentication type since we're going to be making an HTTP request. And with the format, the API key is going to be embedded in the request. So we won't actually need to specify an authentication type. Then we know that we need a URL. We are going to be making a GET request since we're going to be retrieving information on whether or not the email already exists inside of SourceWhale, and then we're going to be filling in parameters. So first, we're going to go over now and take a look at the API documentation for SourceWhale. So this information is actually found on SourceWhale's API terms and conditions page. When you search this up, there's a link here for the API documentation page. So we'll just click this. Now, when we look at this page, we can see that there's a number of different endpoints here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to search up a specific lead inside of the database. So we know that the endpoint that we're going to be using is going to be the V1 candidates slash search. So when we open up the details for the endpoint, we can see that there's three parameters that we're going to be using. There's the key, which is the search key, what we're using to search the lead. In this case, this is actually going to be their email. So it's just going to be the parameter that we're searching by, more or less. Second is the value of the parameter that we're searching. In this case, it's going to be the mapped in value from the previous module containing the email of the specific lead. And then there's the user value. So this is the user's email for the owner, basically, of the SourceWhale account. So since we know this, the other thing that we know that we need to get is the URL to make the request for. So SourceWhale doesn't really make this as easy to find, I guess, by looking at their documentation, but thankfully I've been able to infer it. So what we need is we need a base URL and we need the URL for the endpoint that we're going to be calling. So the endpoint we know is going to be the candidate search. This specifically is spelled out after the backslash here. So V1 candidates search. The base URL is going to be the same as what we see right here. So this can actually be copied from the URL above. So right before the slash after public API. So just get rid of this, copy that, enter this into the URL here. And then we know that it's V1 slash candidates slash search. And we know that that is going to be our URL. So we'll enter that in. Now we go in and we fill in the headers. So first thing, we know that we're making a GET request, as we had said before. Now there's one header that we have to enter in, and this is going to be in the format of our API key. So I will hide this again, just for confidentiality. We will paste our API key right here. So now that we have our header and our API key entered in, we can go ahead and enter in our query parameters. So the first one, like we said, is going to be key, but the value is going to be email. The next one is going to be value, which we're going to be searching, which is going to be the email value mapped in. And then the last one is user email, which is going to be the email of the owner of the account. The one last setting that we do have to select is under parse response here. This has to be set to yes. That's the last setting that you have to configure for the HTTP request module. And now I'll go in and enter in the account owner email, but I'll hide this for confidentiality. Perfect. So now that we have that all configured, we're good to go ahead and test. So I'll click run this module. So what I'll do, I have a couple of examples. I have an example of an email that I know exists inside of SourceWhale already. So we'll first test with that. Okay. All right. So we can see here. So we can see here that there was an output. So we have found this lead successfully inside of SourceWhale. So the whole point here, now we'll set up a filter. We'll just go down here and take a look at the output. So data, candidates. And I mean, we can really just take any of these here. We'll just take status and then just say does not exist. So we're only going to allow leads to come through whereby the data coming off of it doesn't exist. So in other words, that they were not found in SourceWhale. So we'll go ahead and click save. And likewise, we'll go ahead and run a test for one that we know is not in SourceWhale. So we'll just test this. And you'll see this will return a blank result here. Header, output, data. So as you'll see, there's nothing there. And actually, this is data candidates. And this is data candidates. Okay. So we know that anything inside of the candidates array has to be empty before it's passed through. So anyways, that's pretty much it. So when we run it this way, now we'll be able to check every single lead that enters into the workflow will be checked against the database inside of SourceWhale. If the lead already exists in SourceWhale, it's simply filtered out. If it doesn't exist, we'll go ahead and do the verification on it. We'll clean the company name, personalize the email, upload the lead into SmartLead for sending. That's pretty much it. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe and follow for more. And if there's anything other specific that you'd like to see on this channel, feel free to leave it in the comments. All right, thanks a lot. See you.